All right, class. This lesson will be on the Civil War negotiations by the Confederacy and the Union. Um, our goals for today's lesson: the student will learn the value and process of compromise through a role-playing activity, and the students will learn about negotiation talks between the North and the South during the Civil War. Objectives: the student will learn communicative skills by engaging in negotiations. The student will understand the historical significance of the Civil War, and the students will understand how core values shape decision making. All right, to begin with, we're going to have everybody think of a time where you had to compromise in the past week. That can be with other students, friends, family, coaches. I want you to discuss and figure out how your core values determined how much or little you are willing to compromise. And then think about that situation. Think about how much you were willing to, how much or little you were willing to compromise. All right, now that we've got to discuss that, we're going to break up into our three different groups. The rows 1 and 2 will be negotiating for the Confederacy. Rows 3 and 4 will be negotiating for the Union, and rows 5 and 6 will be observers of the negotiation talks. Okay, now that we're in three different groups, I need everybody from all three groups to come up with a list of things from both sides that they were willing to negotiate on and that they were not willing to negotiate on. So you can start by researching for the Hampton Roads Conference and the Confederate Peace Resolutions and Negotiations of 1864 and 1865. All right, now that we've researched for both the conferences, we will now be observing, or the observing group, you will now be responsible for judging the outcomes of the negotiations and determining if the outcome of the class negotiations are similar to the actual results of the negotiations. So the observing group will be responsible to make sure that the negotiations are going how they really went during the Civil War. All right, now it's time to reenact the negotiations. So we'll have one person from the Confederacy, one person from the Union, and one observer slash judge in a group. Now that we're in groups of 3, you can go ahead and you have 15 minutes to start your negotiations. And then observers view the negotiations, see the tactics they're using, and make sure everybody is negotiating the way that they did during the Civil War. All right, now that we've got in our groups and we've talked about the negotiations, let's discuss and evaluate. So for about 5 or 10 minutes, I want you to discuss how the individual negotiations went and discuss the strategies used. All right, it's time to reenact this as a class. So all the people from the Confederacy, all the people from the Union, and all the observers will just have an open discussion for negotiations, and observers, you can chime in and determine, are the strategies going well? Have we got something wrong? What would be the most effective way? So we'll start the negotiations as a class right now. All right, now that the negotiations are over, let's have a class discussion on the negotiations. So I just want feedback on how y'all think they went, and we'll talk about what actually was the outcome of the negotiations during the Hampton Roads. All right, now that we've done that, let's think back to when we had to compromise with our friend or student, teacher, and now that you know more about negotiating and what it requires for you to compromise, we let's discuss how we can stay true to our beliefs when we encounter a situation that requires negotiation and compromise. All right. Great job, class. A lot of good discussion, and I will see y'all tomorrow.